and welcome to Wet Tropic News Online. Our special guest this morning is Ron Hunt from the Rotary Club. Good morning, Ron.
Hey, Sari, how are you?
Good. So before we discuss what's happening with the Tully Rotary Club with Ron, let's get into a little bit of local news from around the region this week. The Kuranda Horse and Pony Club recently held its annual Gymkhana. The event attracted 42 riders for the 8-event program, with 1 rider from Innisfail, 2 from Babinda, and riders from Edmonton, Gordonvale, Irville, Mareeba, Malanda, and Freshwater clubs. Lani Madsen from Innisfail Horse and Pony Club finished 3rd, placing overall in her age group and received a trophy. Emily Sue from Babinda won 3 first and 4 second places, which gave her first aggregate in her age group, highest points in the group. Tiriani Karadine, also from Babinda Horse and Pony Club, competed in 1 first, 7 first, which gave her first aggregate in her age group, highest points in group, and 1 highest points senior rider. Last year, Kirandine was selected as Queensland's representative in the Australian team to compete in Colorado, USA, for the International Mounted Games Exchange. Australia won the competition on August 8, 2019, and the same Australian team in the current Pony Club Mounted Games World Champion. A special thanks to everyone that helped from on-field to in the canteen, as these events couldn't take place without committee volunteers. Also Jessie, the club's caretaker, for keeping the grounds looking so good, and to Julie Shepherd for coming up to help judge. Police urge residents to dob in a dealer. Detectives across the Cassowary Coast, in conjunction with Crime Stoppers, have launched Dob in a Dealer campaign for the month of August and are calling on residents to report information about those who manufacture and distribute crystal methamphetamine, ice, and other illicit drugs. Queensland Police Service has made the prompt call to action because of rising fears there will be a resurgence of backyard meth labs in the region. With the drug becoming harder to source due to travel restrictions during the COVID-19 lockdown, Innisfail Detective Sergeant Stephen Bull said the ability of drugs such as methamphetamines have been impacted during COVID-19, which means the street value has the potential to increase dramatically. So we have serious concerns there will be a spike in the dangerous backyard meth labs. Members of the community often hold the key to information that can help distribute, disrupt, detect and solve crime. So we are asking residents in the Cassowary Coast to play an active role and report these people that are bringing harmful drugs into the region. Detective Sergeant Bull said making a report to Crime Stoppers is completely anonymous and can be done online or over the phone. Information providers will never be identified or called to give evidence at court. However, every piece of information is crucial to helping solve crime and reducing the supply of drugs. To report information about anyone in the community who is manufacturing or supplying drugs, call Innisfail Criminal Investigation Branch on 4061 4750 or Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000, or report securely online at www.crimestoppersqld.com.au 24 hours a day. So Ron, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you became involved in Rotary?
Yeah, well, I joined Tully Rotary in 1972, which is quite some time ago. I was a very busy father of 2 in those days. I worked from daylight to dark. The reason I joined, I felt like I wanted to put something back into the community. I'd always been in clubs and organisations. Yeah, it's been a pretty long journey when you consider that 1972 is nearly 50 years. Enjoyed every bit of it. Some of it made me go grey, of course. Yeah, and the beauty of joining a service club is that when you complete a project, it's a feeling of fulfillment really when you step back and say, well, I was part of that. We did that for the community, or we did that for the world community, or we did that for polio, or whatever. It's being part of something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what did you guys unveil last week?
Oh, last week was something that had been happening for some time. In 1990, our club built the shade cloth over the local pool and local swimming pool. We didn't have a lot of money. We were short. We wanted to do the whole pool, but we didn't have the finances, of course. And we managed to do about a third of the pool and the kids' wading pool. And it's funny, the requests come again over these last couple of hot summers from the schools and the swimming club. They reckon they could cook prawns in the pool at summertime, so we thought we set about trying to complete a little bit more because look, we've got 800 odd backpackers here in Talia, plus you've got all the kids, and everybody's trying to squeeze into one little chatty part of the pool. It's a bit squeezy. Yeah, we managed to get a permission from the council to do it, because it's the council's facility, and then Corona come along, and that sort of put us on the back burner for a while. And then we approached our local district, 9550, and they do give grants out for various projects if they think it's worthwhile. And we managed to secure a grant of about 8,700, I think it was, 8,700. And that enabled us to lock it up and say, well, right, we had the finances for it, only just. It was pretty tight. And then when we proceeded with the project itself, we had some very good local businesses that come forward, and they put in about $5 grand worth of work and equipment and goods, which really helped us across the line. And that's what Tubby's about. Yeah.
So those different organisations, did they get involved with a lot of projects with the Rotary?
Look, if you look around at the projects that we've done, their names, they crop up in just about every project. They're people that they're not a member of the club, but they want to be part of the community and help the community, and that's the way they do it. I haven't done a calculation on how much it would be, but it would be in the hundreds of thousands that they give over the period of time with our projects, just freely.
Wow.
I mean, remember when we were building the Gunbird, and this guy's gone and the company's gone out of business since then, so I can talk about it. The Gunbird itself's got about 14, nearly 15 cubic metres of concrete on the base of it, and that's the design so that the cyclone coming wouldn't blow over, of course.
Yeah.
And rang the particular manager of the concrete place then, and in those days they never give one little smidgen of discount as what it is what you pay. And I said to him, look, any chance of a bit of, a bit of discount for us? We're a Rotary club, it's a community. And he said, no, Ron, he said, we don't do that. I said, all right. He said, what do you want? I said, look, I need about 15 cubic metres of concrete. When do you want it? I said, we'd like it next Wednesday because the hole was dug and we're ready to put the foundations in. He said, look, that's 6.5 metres will be there next Wednesday. I said, no. I said, I want 15 metres. He said, that's 6.5 metres will be there next Wednesday. And he said, there might be a bit more with it. So we only paid for 6.5 metres. And which is, I don't know how much that would have been in those days, but it would have been an awful lot of money. And that's the way people do business with us.
So, did you say that you've done a calculation of how much work over the years that Rotary has invested in this region?
Yes. No, well, it's not, look, Rotary is, I said, we're a service organisation. Back when I joined, there was about 40 members. all business people and members of the community that really wanted to be part of the service club. Our income, if you like, is mainly from the show, barbecues, and various barbecues or functions during the year. We used to run fashion parades. That was when that was all in vogue. And of course our Christmas stocking. Our Christmas stocking has been running since 1950, which is an awful long time. And our total income for the year will probably be about 25,000. Now, that comes from the business, from the community. I mean, we get no way of raising money other than from the community.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, the community, it was funny when we were selling raffle tickets. So I had one lady come up, and a lot of people just throw $5 and say, here's $5 worth. Some people you look at and say, well, should you really be spending that $5? But they'll often say, look, by giving you $5, we're investing in our town. And that's a good way of putting it, and that's how Rotary is regarded in the community. And we did a sort of calculation throughout the whole. I sort of went back and I didn't fudge a bit, but I stretched the figures a little bit, of course. But you've got to remember that for the 80 years nearly that the club has been in action, dollar is not what it is now. You know, things were very, very cheap. But I looked at it all in today's value. I estimated the community had probably given us over $1 million in income. And the service projects that we've done to the value of probably $4 billion.
Wow.
Really, you know, we're like a wounded plover sometimes when we're after money. You land on the ground, you flap your wing and say, oh, things aren't really good. And the local government, which is one, they often find money for us. The councils, we've been to the casino grant, the pontoon down the Hull. That was a big one. We ended up with a $50,000 grant for that from the federal government, and then we scrounged money elsewhere. So, you know, it's a bit here and a bit there and a bit there, and it all adds up. But $4 million is not to be sneezed at.
No.
And the community is better off for it. Rotary's mantra is really, we can't give money to individuals. And the mantra is really, we have to spend our money where it will do the most good for the most people. And that's, you know, it takes a bit of assessing sometimes. When a project comes up, you think, yeah, will it benefit most of the people? And that's the criteria that we've got to use. It's like this one bill. You know, there's a lot of people going to be benefited out of that.
Yeah, and the same with the school, like the primary schools?
Yeah, well, the primary school, we helped Lions, we went in with Lions and did one of the bus shelters at the front, and then we did the one inside. We combined with Lions a bit because they're a service club like us.
Yeah.
I mean, we put the entrance feature in the town, and that's been wanted for 40 years.
Yeah.
And it sort of come up, and we thought, well, a lot of people drive by and think Tully's a couple of clapped out old sawmills, a couple of service stations that have collapsed, and a radar track. And now they know that Tully's up there. And that's why we put the gumboot in. It was to bring people into town.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's benefited a lot of people.
Yeah. And with the high school, I know we can't do it this year because of COVID, the disabled students.
Yeah, well, that's another one where
fishing.
It's we call it wheelie fishing, WHWLE, and it's really for. We'd run it for a few years on our own and found it was just too hard, so we joined with the high school and said, look, we'll organise some sponsors and we'll take some of the kids with disabilities out fishing, which when you look at it probably during their lifetime, they've never been in a boat and they won't put a line in the water. So it was good, it's good, that's the sort of stuff that we do.
Yeah, because that adds ongoing value into their life.
Well, they can remember it, you know.
Yeah. into the future.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, when you look at the projects that we've done, the covered walkway up in front of Violet Smith Park, the covered footpath, you know, that's been badly neglected ever since Tully was Tully. Ever since those shops got burnt down that were there years ago. And that's something that we opted to do again. It's, when you look back and say, well, it's definitely a benefit. Council don't like it because they think, sometimes they think that it creates a burden that adds to their infrastructure and adds to their costing. And they have to maintain that and put away for it. But who cares? The people really need it. That's the way we look at it. And we don't build something if it's not needed. Yeah.
A local teacher risked his life for 2 students and received prestigious Police Bravery Award. Innisfail State College teacher Shane Rendovic was officially recognised for risking his life to rescue 2 teenagers from the crocodile-infested Johnson River and was awarded with the Queensland Police Commissioner's certificate. The framed certificate was presented to Mr. Rendovic by Far North Queensland Police Chief Superintendent Brian Huxley from Cairns on behalf of Queensland Police Commissioner Katrina Carroll, APM at Innisfail State College Assembly attended by Year 8, 9 and 10 students. On March the 2nd, 2018, Mr. Ranovic and 2 other civilians witnessed an incident at the bridge where 2 teenagers ended up in the Johnson River and were becoming fatigued. Without hesitation, these 2 brave men entered the crocodile-inhabited waters of the river and risked life and limb to assist the 2 teenagers and bring them to safety. The Commissioner's certificate is normally awarded to a police officer who performs an act of bravery in hazardous circumstances. However, it may also be awarded to a person or a group for assistance given to the police service for public-spirited action by a person or group. Mr. Randovic, who was unaware he would be receiving the award, said it was totally unexpected, but he was extremely humbled and thankful to be recognised for his efforts. When I was swimming in the water, all I could think about was the crocodiles, but I was determined to keep going, and it's rewarding to know I made a difference to these young people's lives and given them a second chance, Randovic said. Mr. Huxley said it was an absolute pleasure to be at the school representing the Commissioner to present the certificate in recognition of what was an incredible act of bravery. From a policing perspective, we certainly understand the dangers involved and the risk and risking yourselves and others went through to put the safety of these teenagers ahead of your own is quite extraordinary, Huxley said. The end of an era has come for the Innisfail Weather Observer. Zoe June of East Innisfail has been Innisfail's permanent weather observer for 16 years and has taken her final data readings with the Bureau of Meteorology system as it is being automated. It was 30 years ago when Mrs. June first started taking readings of the weather station in 1990. As a fill-in for her mother-in-law, Cecily June, and since 2004 has dedicated her life to being the manual weather observer. In all kinds of weather, June collected vital weather information 365 days a year, including weekends and public holidays. Although the role can be time-consuming and is a big commitment, I find it very interesting, especially observing the changing weather patterns, June said. The role was very rewarding and identifies who you are in the community, she said. In 2006, Cyclone Larry was one of my scariest experiences when I went to collect the equipment from the weather station as it came through so fast, and I was battered by gale force winds. For her display of courage and bravery during Cyclone Larry, June was awarded with a Far Northern Honours Medallion and Silver Pen and was also recognised with a special Cyclone Larry Relief Effort Pen from the Queensland Government for her valuable and outstanding contribution during the relief effort. On June 30 at 9 a.m, June took her final readings before automated readings will now be taken from Mundu Airport, which are used on the BOM website, as well as local radio, television and print media reports. Thanks for joining us today, Ron.
My pleasure, Sari. And if anybody out there would like to join Rotary, by all means, make contact with someone. We need more people to help the community.
Well, thank you everyone for watching this Wet Tropic News Online. Have a great week.